Hi everyone, welcome to the surgery where we've just done a really interesting input on how to do your final four without a transcribe. So let me redo that for the lovely Adele, who isn't here with us live, just in case you want to watch this. So we were talking about transcribes. How would you do it? And Christina was saying that for her, the thing that she's most concerned about is missing something important. So the most important thing for you as an animal communicator is that you frame everything up ahead for your client. You frame, it's called framing, which is where you let your client know what to expect. And then there's no surprises and your client is fully prepared. So I would be framing how the session's going to go, including that you'll be looking at your notes. And this is where the framing is really important, because you can just say, I'm looking at my notes, so you might see the top of my head, because nobody wants to see the top of a head in a conversation. So that's why I say it like that, but I also add in, and it's so I don't miss a single thing. So they're really clear. The reason you're seeing the top of my head, and I'm not giving you eye contact all the way through, is to make sure that I'm doing the best job for you. So that's the framing part. You're framing it in such a way that your client knows that everything you're doing is for them. And then I would just read off my notes. So your girl, she strikes me as somebody who's blah, 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 blah. Your client's going, you're going to pause, let your client give you feedback, and then tick off everything that you got right, add in any notes. I use a different color pen, so it's very clear. 5 years from now, it's very clear what my findings were and what added information my client gave me. So that's why I do it like that. And you let your client know that you're going to stop and you're going to pause and you're going to check in with them, and they can stop and interject at any time as well. So does that answer that for you, Christina?
It does. It does, yeah.
Now, some assessors may ask for a transcribe. Some of them have been with me a really long time, and that used to be part of their system, part of our system. But a couple of years ago, I just thought, well, you might not want to do transcribes as a professional practitioner, so let's just introduce it here that you don't have to. So if your assessor asks for a transcribe and you are allowed to say no, you won't be down marked or anything, but I don't think a student's ever said no if an assessor's asked for it. They've just said, yes, I'll get that to you as quickly as I can. But you might be typing up your notes for yourself anyway, so it makes sense just to send them. It's a nice extra if you've already typed it up, but you don't have to. And you can, as I've just outlined, you can just read off your journal or your notepad or whatever, the way that I just described. Any more questions around that one?
It's a little extension of it, I must say. It's so because I'm not used to too much communication with a live animal. So it's always with a picture. So also with the other group I went to, it was always pictures, whether it was transition, whether it was health, whether it was this or that, it was always pictures. So I feel a different pressure when I'm with a live animal. And for some reason, it feels more difficult or more challenging. You're nodding, Diana.
It can be.
Yeah.
I used to find that, because it can be very hard sort of centering yourself in the presence of the animal and the guardian. Yeah. It can be quite distracting. Yeah.
And if you're particularly highly sensitive, you're going to have the energy from the animal and the energy from the guardian to deal with as well.
Yeah.
So you've a double whammy coming at you, which can be quite hard. So there's two things I want to say there, but can you give me just one moment, please?
Sure.
Give me just one moment.
All right, no worries. Yeah. I talked to Peter, well, I was in contact with Peter Traglian this morning.
Yeah.
And he said that he has lower back issues and hip issues, so he's not going anywhere for the time being.
Yeah.
So he's down there in Devon.
Yeah. No, I'm not surprised. Yeah, and I empathise. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sorry about that.
Never mind. Yeah.
Okay, so a couple of things that you can do. One is one's a practical solution, and the other's a mindset solution. So I just want to ask you specifically, Christina, and Diana, you were there as well, to rewind your minds back to the last Connect and Communicate class we did, where we just did live work without even seeing the animal. And we just did the conversation. And then the class before that, we did live work with Harry on my lap. So I want you both to remind yourselves that you can do this. You have the evidence that you can do it.
Yes, yes, we can, and I can. And a lot of it is about mindset. And I find it a lot easier one-on-one with one of my horses in the stable. Yeah, if there's no one else knocking about and interrupting things. Yeah,
Right.
but it is hard trying to separate everything out.
So let me give you a second strategy then. So a second practical strategy. So the first mindset piece is just to be reminding yourself that you both can do this.
Oh,
and Adele,
yeah.
if you watched on the replay, you've done it as well. In fact, actually, this is turning out to be Adele's strength, is to do it live. So that's
Lucky
that's
her.
her strength. That's become her superpower.
Yeah.
So she works better. She's discovered that she works better now. Just having somebody there firing questions at her, and it just allows her to not have to think about reading questions, formulating how to say it. That's her strength. So well done, Adele. You've got what everybody else would love to have. So for you guys, the first piece is the mindset piece, that reminding yourself that you can do it and the evidence is there. So that's the first thing. The practical strategies, if you know that you are going, so this is pre-arranged, and somebody's asked you to come see their horse or whatever, ask them to send you a picture first. So this is what I do when I had that first wobbly moment of what happens if I get nothing and I'm sitting in this woman's house and I get nothing. That was my biggest fear. So I asked her to send me a photograph through email, and I actually did a connection with her dog before I went to her house. So I went there armed with the photograph and already with a page of notes. When I got there, I got just about hee-haw from that dog. I got hardly anything from the dog at all. So I was really glad that I had done the preparatory work first. So that's my top tip to you, because 9 times out of 10, you know that you're going to do the work. Otherwise, it's going to be something more casual, and you can just say, oh, I'm not in the mood today, or I'm not in the right headspace, and you can avoid it if you really don't want to do it. So that's the first piece. First practical piece is get a picture, do preparatory work up ahead, and then just see what happens when you're there. And the pressure's off because you've already done the core work. For you, Diana, if that
that's what I do. That's what I do now, is look at the photo first and do it.
Yeah. So that would be that. I think that's always a good call. For you, when you're with somebody and there's too many energies, then what you want to do is just set your boundary really clearly and just say, if you want me to do communication work, it needs to just be me and your dog, me and your horse, me and your cat, me and your tortoise. If I could just ask you all to leave the room, and I'll call you back in when I'm ready.
Yeah, that is virtually impossible on a livery yard, though, a busy yard. Sadly, yeah, that's why I do end up doing them. I do them better distantly, and I'd only go and actually do a visit if, as a vet, I wanted to feel what I can't see,
Right. So you just say you don't do live work, end of.
Yeah.
And you again, remember I said earlier about framing. So you want to pre-frame for any prospective client. It's not that they would necessarily be thinking anything or making a judgment, but you want to be pre-framing it so your client always sees it through the lens that this is best for them. Otherwise, they
Yeah.
could be thinking, oh, she's not very good. She can't do live animals. And that's not the case at all. The
No.
case is that you do your best work when you're undisturbed, there's
Yeah.
no distractions, and it's just you and the animal. So for you to do your best work for your client, you're not coming to do it at the livery yard. You're doing it in the quietness and the lack of your home, which has a lack of distraction, no interruptions, and you can do your best work for your client. That's how I would be framing that for your client.
Yeah, I would, but I mean, indeed, sort of with my mobility issues at the moment, I mean,
Yeah.
that's not a, you know,
Yeah.
it's better for everybody.
Yeah, for sure. But thinking beyond that, as a concept, if
Yeah,
people,
oh yeah.
you're saying it's impossible to do that at the at busy
It's not impossible,
delivery.
but it just makes it much more challenging.
Yeah.
You know.
And the thing is, this is where it's really important for each and every one of you to remember that you're in charge.
Yeah.
You're in charge. And especially if you're charging people for this service, you want to be doing your best work. And I know you all well enough that you would only ever do your best work. So set yourself up for that success.
Yeah.
And learn to say no. And remember, no is a complete sentence. You say no to the client that's asking you to do it in a way that doesn't work for you. Because the worst thing that can happen is that you're not able to perform, and then they ask for a refund and tell everybody that you're crap. And that's not the truth at all.
No, and to be fair, the animal communicators I've seen around here working live are not doing it in anything like the depth that we are.
No. But
it's just touching the surface, and a couple of characteristics.
Yeah, because you don't have the same time.
No.
I don't think you have the same time when you're live and the person's there and you can feel them breathing on your neck and they've got another question coming in and you've not even got the full answer from that one. You don't have that. Yeah, there's something, often there can be something that's lacking in the process. Unless you get super fast downloads and it all comes in, and that's great. And I know that that's how it's working for Adele right now. And that's brilliant when it works in that way. But for most of us, there's not quite enough time and spacing between the questions because we're not in charge of it the way we are in our own space, because you've got the client. Yeah.
Totally makes sense. Yeah, I feel it too. Yeah.
And also, me myself needs to really write something down before I convey it.
There you go. It's part of your process.
Yeah. I think it's me processing what I've got as well.
Yeah. It's part of your process. So again, if you have a client that's insistent, really insistent, then you can say to them, well, I do my best work when I'm not interrupted, I'm not disturbed, I have no distractions, and I can write as the information comes in. That's part of my translating communication process for me to get the best from your animal friend. If you're insisting that I do it live, then I just want to let you know that sometimes it doesn't flow quite as well. Or actually, I wouldn't say that, because I would just be saying I'm not doing it. If it really doesn't work for you, or if they're insisting that you do it, then you just say, okay, that I'll do my. So again, pre-framing for your client, that I will always do the best that I possibly can for you and for your horse. I just know that doing it live in the way that you're asking me, I'm not always sure that that's my best way. I'll be able to do a good job for you, but I would be able to do a better job if we did it this way. But if you want me to come to the yard, then sure, I'll do that. And then what you do there, here's another hack. Then you charge them more, because you've got travel. It takes you longer because you've got to get there and get back. And sometimes that price difference might be the difference between them saying, actually, no, just do it at home because it's 30 quid less or whatever. And then you get to do what you want to. Because so if you're traveling, there's absolutely completely valid reasons for you charging extra for your travel. Because it's not just your travel, and this took me a long time to work out. I used to just charge a £5, like, really?
No way. No.
Like way back at the beginning. I would
Yeah.
charge a £5, just, you know, if I was traveling within a certain radius, that's all I used to charge. But it was somebody else that pointed it out, because this is why I don't know why I still have a bloody business, because I don't have a good business head, really. But they'd said to me, Sarah Jane, it's not just your travel time, it's your time out of your business.
Yeah.
It's your time
Yeah.
out your business where you could actually be working with another animal. That's another
Yeah.
consultation time
Yeah.
being taken up. Or you could be working on your business to grow your business, develop your business, get your next client, and that's all been taken away, and you're charging like a £5. Yeah. So it's there's a lot to consider there, but there's valid reasons for charging for travel, because it does take time. It costs you monetary wise for fuel, but it costs you and your business time. But I have a friend who she hates doing live stuff. She actually she speaks internationally. You know, she speaks on stages all over the world, but she hates doing live stuff. She's an introvert. She doesn't like doing live things, but most of all, she hates wearing a bra. She
Nah.
hates having to wear a bra. So if she has to get up on stage, which she doesn't really like doing anyway, and she has to travel away from home, which she does not like doing anyway, she also has to put a bloody bra on, and it's that pees her off the most. So she calls it bra tax. And so in her business, she adds bra tax. So if somebody is asking her to do a job that she really doesn't want to do because she's got to put a bra on, she whacks a big price on it because she doesn't want to do it. So if they're paying her an extra £1,000 to go and speak on, because she can command that kind, she can command that kind of money, then she puts her bra tax on it. And then when she's all uncomfortable because she hates a bra, and she's all uncomfortable and she's had to go buy new clothes so she looks nice and she hates clothes shopping, then when she's doing all of that, she thinks, right, ching ching, there's an extra however much in the bank account, I can cope with this. So there's that side of it as well. And seriousness, there's that side of it as well. If somebody's asking you to do something that you don't enjoy, you don't really want to do, you're perfectly within your rights to put that price up, because it's not what your normal work is. And so for me, the first time that I did that was with transcribes. And it's funny that we started this conversation with transcribes. I charge for my transcribes. I've been doing them for a long time, but when I got to the point where I hated doing them and they were just something else to do, and they always seemed like a really big job, even if it wasn't, but in my head, it was a big job and I was putting it off, and it'd be like, oh my God, that's 2 days now and I still haven't got that typed up. And it was just, yeah, I didn't like it. So I thought, right, I'm not offering transcribes anymore. If you want to transcribe, you have to pay me extra. Now, the price wasn't like stupid, but it was, I think it was £30. So it was just big enough. Like it wasn't so big that it was like people would feel ripped off, but it was just big enough to make people question whether they really needed it. That was where I went with that price point. It's like, you know, people are going to say, 30 quid, do I really need the transcribe? And then when Zoom came around, because at that time there was no such thing as Zoom, I just record them and they're free. I'm not bothered about charging people to get a recording. Some people do charge for the recordings, by the way. I don't. I'm just glad that I don't ever have to write a bloody transcribe, so you can have the recording with my love, because I just don't want to write a transcribe. So just know that if somebody's asking something of you that you really don't enjoy, you don't like, so much so that you've made it not a part of your day-to-day work, and somebody asks you for that, you can put a price point on that, because they're asking you to do something that you don't do anymore or you don't want to do.
Speaking of money, I know that UK is one thing and Denmark is something else, but how much would be a fair price to charge for a session once we are over and done with?
So this comes up all the time. I normally talk about this at your graduation call. So we go over pricing and insurance and things like that. So I don't know what everybody else is charging, and this is a whole topic in its own right, because well, I'll share something with you that a money mindset coach said. Same friend that I was just talking about who does the bra tax. So she does money mindset. So what she talks about is if you're pricing, and I did this for my very first online home study course in animal communication. I looked at who around me, closest to me, was doing that. And I didn't price it as much as them because they were more famous. And one of them had been on TV. I hadn't been on TV at that point. One of them had a book. I didn't have a book at that point. So I thought, well, I can't charge the same as her because she's famous and has a book and blah, blah, blah. So I have to charge less than her. So that's what I did. But I remember at the time thinking, actually, this is really good content. And I think it's worth more than that. And I find it really difficult to price my stuff. Like I'm like, I hate pricing. I really do. It's the one thing you have to do when you run a
Join the
business.
club. Yeah.
But I hate it. I hate it. I really, really do. And so the only thing that I have 100% confidence in my pricing is with this program, because I've run it so much now and I've seen so many people come through and I've got so much feedback, especially from people that I've trained with other, what I would consider to be really great world-class trainers, giving me really good feedback and compliments on my work compared to other great teachers out there. So I have complete 100% faith in this program and its price point, but it's taken me 10 years to get there.
Oh, yeah.
It's taken me a long time to get there. And I actually had more quibble last year charging £997. That's like £1,000. I had more sleepless nights charging £1,000 for something new than I do charging, 5,000 for this. So because this is tried and tested and the other work that I was doing wasn't. So yeah, pricing's tricky. So I don't look at other people's pricing anymore. It's not what I do, because when I priced my stuff in alignment or just under Joanne's stuff, it was because I saw her as, being more famous, more well known, and and who am I to charge more than the famous person when nobody knows who I am? I had all those stories going on in my head. But one of the things is we don't know anybody else's story. We also don't know the quality of their stuff. But if somebody else is running a mindset story about they're not good enough, and so they don't feel worthy of charging a decent price because they've got their own issues around what they can charge, what they're allowed to charge, what they feel people would pay, then if you're aligning your pricing with theirs, then you are aligning your pricing with somebody else's unhealthy and unsupportive money story. So you might have your own money story, but that's aside. If you're deliberately pricing your stuff with other people's pricing, and if they've got money stories, then you're pricing your stuff on their money stories. That's not great. And then what happened with Joanne's program is that I had a client of mine had been on a workshop. I had the first, yeah, it was just done. It was just done. It wasn't out. It was just done. And she told me that she'd been to this women's workshop and she was offering the first module of her course at like a really super low price. And Claire, my friend, had bought it. And she said to me, because I remember my heart kind of sinking and going, oh, I've just finished mine. It's just about ready to go out. And I said that to her. And she said to me, Cedra, you need to hurry up and get it out. She said, because that was complete tack. It was awful. And there was a part of me that wanted to say, let me see. I wanted to see, but I didn't. I was really tempted, but I didn't do that. I mean, I really wanted to see it. So I was just trying to be really kind of like, all right. And my voice has gone up about 10 octaves. And I'm like, all right, so what was wrong with it? And she said, first of all, it arrived in the post because it was a postal, before all of this stuff. She said, first of all, it arrived in the post. And it was like 6 sheets of paper stapled together in the corner and the pages weren't aligned. So already I know that that would have annoyed me. Like it would,
Yeah.
not only would the pages needed to have been all neatly aligned, but they would have been in a folder. I'd have had it in a clear fronted folder
Yeah.
with a strip bar up the side, so it was all nicely presented. And my first postal course, that they all went out like that. And hers had arrived, and she said it just looked like really unprofessional. And I was like, all right. So I'm thinking tick to Sarah Jane, because I knew that I would never send anything out that looked like that. Then she said, and the content. Now I've actually learned a lot from this woman. So much over the years. I owe so much of my business
But
to
all the things not to do.
Pardon?
All the things what not to do.
All the things not to do. That's what I've learned. What I've learned from this woman. So so that was a tick to Sarah Jane, because I would never have let that go out. Then my friend said to me, and then she's going on about meditation and how to meditate. She said, I don't need to know about meditation. I didn't sign up to an animal communication course to learn about meditation. I learned to speak to my dogs. And I said to her, but meditation's a core part of it. And that was my first module. My first module was also meditation. And she said, but that's not what I signed up for. I signed up to learn how to communicate. So I thought, oh, I need to put something in that very first module about actual communication. So I adapted some content from the second module and brought it into the first one, so that met that one person's expectation, which fair enough is a reasonable expectation. And then she said to me, I'm not, oh, and then the other one, she was due to get the second module, and she said, if the second module's not any better, significantly better than this, I'm asking for my money back. And she said to me, we've got to hand in assessments, and they're being marked by, I've got a coach called, and I can't remember the woman's name, but she told me the name of her coach. I was horrified, absolutely horrified, because I knew who her coach was, because I'd been at her workshop, and her coach was her admin assistant. She was not an animal communicator. She was learning animal communication. I'd offered to help this woman at her workshop. So it was her workshop, and she said to me, I said, well, I'm happy to help you, whatever. And she said, right, well, come along to the workshop. And if I need a hand, then I know that you're there. And if I don't, then just enjoy the workshop. So that was what we had. So I was there, and she introduced her admin assistant to everybody. And she said, this is so-and-so. She's my admin assistant, and she's here to understand and learn about animal communication. So here's my friend Claire telling me that she's got this animal communication coach who's the women's bloody admin assistant. Like, that's not okay. That's not okay. So yeah, I've learned, my business has definitely learned from this woman's what not to do, and there's a whole heap of other what not to do's out there as well, but those are the ones that most pertinent to this question. So around pricing, even though I didn't see the women's content, I knew already that my content was more valuable than the £70 that this woman was selling her program for. And there was a part of me that didn't feel right charging £70 for the work that I knew that I'd put in, would continue to put in, but I didn't believe that I could possibly charge more than somebody who was famous. So when my friend Claire told me what her experience was, I put mine up to 99. So when mine went out for sale, it was £99. That was the very first version, was £99. So it's tricky. Pricing's tricky. So that the whole reason I went into that women's program was to illustrate that when you're comparing your prices to other people's, you risk comparing your prices to the money stories, the limiting money stories that other people have and are putting that are influencing all of their pricing. So that's the first piece. And then the second piece is, what is it worth to you? Now, this is hard in the beginning when you don't have a real strong track record. But if you've come through this program, you do have a track record. You do have a track record.
Yeah, and that's why I'm asking, because Of course, I don't want you to set our prices.
But
But I would,
I will do that.
okay, but I would like to ask you, what do you think
Right. So
that
this is
what
normally
we're
top.
worth when we have done your entire course?
So this is what I would normally say at the graduation call, because I always talk pricing and insurance. They're the two things I always cover.
Okay.
So pricing, most people feel really uncomfortable with pricing, don't know where to pitch it. So I want to help you with that. You will know people out there, even at professional level, that will charge less than this. And you will also know people that charge much more than this. I think around the £70 mark is a good initial
For a
place for you to
session,
be.
one
Now,
session, 1 hour.
that's so you've well, it's actually the best part of 3 hours, because you've got your hour
Mm.
with the animal,
Yeah.
your feedback with the person, and if you're doing a transcribe, you've got your transcribe. So that's 3 hours work, and people
Okay.
forget that. So I don't do it so much now, but in the old days, I used to outline this is a minimum of 3 hours work.
Mm.
So I'm very clear. Remember the pre-framing.
Mm.
You're letting your client know that this is a minimum of 3 hours work. So if £70 makes you go, oh my God, I can't charge that, and you're having a cold sweat and you're having a nightmare and you can't possibly get that out of your mouth, then go down as low as 50. This is my perception.
Maybe
And
as
you
a
don't
startup
need
price.
you don't need to follow this. If you charge less than £50, in my view,
We're
you don't need to agree with me, but
devaluing the program.
in my
Devaluing it.
view, you're devaluing the program.
Yeah.
You're devaluing my teaching, my experience, and you're devaluing your investment in the program. This is not a Udemy £20, $20 course that you guys are on here. So you're not only in my eyes, and I know that nobody would be doing this intentionally, so it's not a judgment on anyone, but just from a really objective data, not drama perspective, below £50, it devalues the program and what you've learned, but it devalues your investment. And I want each and every one of you to get a return on your investment in this program.
Actually, I just checked the exchange rate, and that would be in the low end in Denmark, that's for sure.
Yeah. So I know, so I had 2 women on my program last intake, no, the intake before, 2 intakes ago. And when I said to them, do you know what, do any of you know what you'll be charging? They already knew. They were each charging $250 for a consultation. That's more than what I charge. So
Wow.
they'd already decided that that's what they were charging before they finished the program. So I'm not saying that it's right or it's wrong. I just think if you're not comfortable with pricing, then £70 is a good starting point. And if that feels too much, then bring it down to 60, 65, bring it down to 50, 55, go below 50. For me, that yeah, it doesn't feel right below £50. But here's the thing, this is the most important thing. You just want to get your first 10 clients. Just get your first 10 clients and then rethink the pricing if you need to. You will know, your body will tell you when you need to change your pricing, because all of a sudden you'll feel resentful. You either won't want to do it, or you do it with a happy heart, but you're annoyed afterwards. So I'm very in the moment. So if I'm on a call with somebody and it runs over, I don't grudge them that time. If I've got allowance to overrun, then I don't grudge that. I really don't, not in the moment. But maybe later on or the next day, I'll be like, why did I do that? Now I'm behind on this and this. And, I should have had that done yesterday, but I let the call run late. So that's me annoyed at me. But it's also my body's way of saying the exchange isn't right anymore for me to be giving that amount of time for that monetary input. Does that make sense? So your body will let you know. As soon as you start to feel irritated, irked, a bit resentful, or not wanting necessarily to do the work, or when you start to get any of those feelings, that's just your body letting you know that a boundary's crossed. And the boundary is the fairness of the exchange.
I was thinking to do a startup price and advise it as a startup price. So this is my opening price for the first 1 month or 2 months or something. So, you know, get in and get it at the good price, because after 2 months it will go up or something.
So absolutely, you could do
That's
that.
fine.
You absolutely could do that. Can I make a reframe suggestion there?
Yes.
So when you say,
Introductory.
yeah, when you say like it's an introductory offer,
Mm.
then it's your reader that's reading it will see that it's new.
Mm.
So they'll think that you're new
Mm.
and you might not be very good
Mm.
because you're just learning or you're just
Mm.
fresh out the gatepost.
Mm.
So what I would do is I would use slightly different language. I didn't know this way back then, but now I would probably use slightly different language. And you might say something like, so this is your pre-framing it for your client. I've been doing animal communication for several years now, and I'm taking I don't know about taking my business to a new level, but I've been doing animal communication for several years now, and I love the amazing transformations that I make. And as a thank you to the animals and all my clients, they don't need to know that they're case studies. They're still clients. You've still done the work. As a thank you to all the animals and my clients, for the month of, I'm doing a special offer of this. This is my normal price, but for the next month, I'm doing this. Or you can book in at this price, provided you have booked up by whatever date. So you might do it that way, whatever works for you. But do you see the difference between I'm a brand new animal communicator and I'm starting my new business, and you're going to get this great introductory price of £30. Do it now before it goes up to 70. There's nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with that at all, but just changing the language. I've been doing this for quite a few years now. I'm still blown away by the amazing accuracy and results that I get. And as a thank you to all the animals that have helped me, become the best that I can be, to all my clients, and just doing a thank you offer for the month of June or the month of July. Did that help with that?
It does, definitely. I'm just jotting down.
Adele, do you have any questions about any case studies? We've done a little bit about case studies, and we've moved into Final Four. We do have our call, it must be Wednesday. Yeah, it's Wednesday. For a quick check-in on the Final Four. But if you've got any questions, just bring them here. You can bring them here just now if you've got any burning questions.
Maybe one question. Can you have the same assessor do 2 case studies, or do they just do one?
No, just one.
Just one.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So it's just one that we're has to go through. Right. Okay. Yeah. It's just that I hadn't heard from one.
Would Sarah Williams, would it?
I've not heard either from her.
I haven't heard anything from Sarah Williams.
From who?
No, is that the Sarah Williams? No? All right.
Have you not heard from Sarah?
No.
No.
Right, let me come on to Sarah in a little minute. Adele, if you finish, who was your assessor?
I one particular one that I went to was Janet. Is it Janet?
Oh, Jeanette.
Jeanette, yes.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard from her. I emailed her, and then you were going to get in contact with.
I have got in touch with Lois. I got in touch with her last week. She's really busy just now. She's selling her house, and it's an amazing house. And you were there, Adele, at the workshop, the VIP workshop. So her house sale fell through initially. She took her house back off the market, And
Yeah.
then she put it back on because the buyers, she didn't think they were the right people for the house, even though they
Yeah.
offered her the right money.
Yeah.
Then she found her dream home and somebody had put an offer in on her. So it was all perfect, only to discover that there was a major piece about her dream home that they hadn't disclosed. So it's just been a nightmare. And then the people that were buying her home for the third time, so she's now third time selling her home, the wife died just really suddenly and unexpectedly. So she's just in a really busy place right now. But I did, I checked this morning and she hadn't come back to me. And then I saw you email Christina. So what I'll do is, so I don't know if she's available for everyone, but Lois has said to, so to try. Adele, are you okay for me to
Yes,
right,
to
thank you.
Lewis.
Thanks.
Yes, very much
Thank
so.
you.
Indeed.
So I
Yeah.
was just thinking it's getting
Yeah.
really awkward trying to
Yeah.
keep your
No, I know.
confidentiality here.
Yeah. I'll pick
Thank
that
you.
up.
Right.
Yes.
So Adele, she hasn't shared it through the program, but she shared it, allowed me to share it a couple of weeks ago in a newsletter, that she has dyslexia. And that has been something that she has bravely and courageously navigated her whole life, mainly without support, without understanding from past teachers, etc. So Lois is somebody that understands dyslexia. And so I asked Lois if she would be happy to be an assessor for Adele. So Lois is happy to do that. And I said, and do you have time to be available, for everyone else should they wish to select you? Because you're just, we don't know who's going to be chosen. And she said, can I get back to you? I've just got quite a lot on just now. So that was where it was left. So she still is happy to be your assessor, Adele.
Right,
I just had asked her permission to give you her phone number, and I didn't want to do that without her permission, but she has said yes.
Yeah, right.
So I'll get that
you're
sorted.
Your details sorted to me. And it's just that
Jeanette, manically busy right now because she was an assessor for one of the other students. So I had a call with her last week. She's doing like really mental shifts at work just now, but it's not like her not to get back. So I would bear with it for don't worry is really what I'm saying. Don't worry about that. She's maybe just doing a couple of back-to-back shifts. She has 12-hour shifts where she is just now. So don't worry too much. Don't worry too much about that. If you've not heard from her by the end of the week, then email Louise and Louise will take care of that for you. And it might just be that we switch assessor. Sarah Williams, she's also busy. This is why we always say at this stage, it's not, even though my diary's always left, I've got huge gaps in my diary at the Final Four because you guys are the most important thing. Now this time it's a little bit different because I'm not officially at work, so I have an empty diary completely, but the diary is always prioritized for the Final Fours. And this is why we always say to you, let us know as soon as you know who you've got so we can get them in, because it's not my diary that holds things up. It's getting the two diaries matched, up. So Sarah Williams, it's not like her not to get back. She is also busy. She does animal work, but she also is a pilot, although she was looking to retire from that. So I don't know if she has. So sometimes she can be in a long haul flight somewhere, and that can sometimes create a little bit of time delay. But she's an amazing assessor. She's been doing this with me for a long time, and she's able to draw on her own experiences of being, she hasn't come through my program, but she did come through somebody else's program, and she hated the assessment part, and so she's able to bring all of that in a really nice supportive way for all of you guys. So let me check in on Sarah, because I don't think I reached out to her a little while ago just to see how she was. and I don't think I got a reply either. So let me check in on Sarah.
Yeah,
And
she's the only one I've not heard from.
yeah, and the thing is, I always email out to everyone just to remind them that it's, you know, because we had 1 year where nobody had heard from one assessor, and we thought that's not like her. So I emailed Jean, couldn't get her on email, which again is not like her. And I do treatments for her dogs. So I thought that's not normal. And then when it was time for her dog's treatment, and I sent the treatment report, and she came back to me, and I said to her, a couple of students have been trying to get hold of you. And she said, oh, I've seen all the emails. She said, they don't come in here anymore. So she had that was the catalyst for us to remind, you know, to make sure that assessors were remembering to check emails. She's the only one that didn't check emails, but she says, oh, I've just trying to stop using emails, so just keep reminding me when the students are at that stage. So let me see, Lois for Adele and Sarah Williams. Yeah, I'm just remembering, I checked in with her a little while ago just to see how she was doing. And I'm sure she hadn't got back to me. And she was thinking about moving at that time as well. So it might just be that she has moved and she has resigned from being a pilot for British Airways. Who knows? So I will reach out to her. Okay, any other questions? So you've all got your 4 assessors in essence?
No.
In essence, yeah.
No, I'm well, I've only reached out to Sarah as my number 2, and I haven't, so I kind of wanted to do one at a time, but I'm gonna reach out to 2 more, and
I
hopefully,
would,
yeah,
just so they're lined up, because if you
Yeah.
imagine if you do them one at a time,
yeah,
and then say your
Okay.
last 2, their diaries are really busy,
yeah,
then you've got to get them done. And then if their diaries are busy, it means that their diary is busy for me as well.
Yeah.
So if you know who they are, even if you haven't done the work,
Mm,
so say you were wanting to do them one at a time, so say like one a week,
mm,
then you could just say either the date that you're going to do the work, if you know it, or the week commencing, and then you
Mm.
let Louise know. And then even if you don't have a specific date, Louise can get in touch with that assessor and say, I know that you're speaking to Christina that week. Can I book you in with Sarah Jane on the Thursday?
mm,
And then that gives you Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday
Mm.
morning to get it done. And if
Yeah,
you end up doing it on Thursday
Yeah.
afternoon, then we would just change the date, the time at this end. And it just means that there's less likelihood of the diaries not matching up and you having to wait. So this intake just now, Shayla, Alison, and Norma, they should all have graduated the week before. My diary was all set for them to graduate the week before, but one of the assessors, it didn't matter what we did, we couldn't get her diary to, and I'm like, I'm available Saturday, Sunday, just give me a day and let's get this done, because I had the graduation call booked in for the Thursday. So I'm like, even if it's the weekend, just we'll get it done. And they couldn't swing it. So we ended up having to delay a whole week. So that's why we always say, once you know who you're working with and you've either got the date, even if it's 2 weeks ahead, because you can book them in for further along, or the week commencing, then it means that we can get the diary freed up at this end.
Okay. So, but is it rightly understood that you are not going to talk to the assessors for the next 3 weeks because
Yeah.
you're going for the operation?
So ordinarily, I would be here, and so we know that you've done Diana. So I would have Diana booked in this week. And I would be like, right, you spoke to Christina at the weekend. How did that go? Done. So it's fresh in Diana's head, and it's, we're capturing it there as close to the moment. And then that way, I'm not having to fit 12 assessors plus your 3 results calls plus your exam marking all in the 1 week, because that's impossible. So that's ordinarily what we would be doing. But because I'll be post-operative recovery, what we're going to do is just put everybody in, but I'll have nothing else in my diary. I have nothing else. So there's no competing in my diary. So whereas even though I would normally be doing it as quickly as possible, it's always, I'm still competing with other things in my diary, even though I leave extra space at the final four. So it won't actually impact the timeline at all. It really won't impact the timeline. It just means that at my end, I'm doing it all in a much more intense period of time, but you will all be finishing in the same time frame as you would be even if I wasn't in hospital.
Okay.
So I've written out to all the assessors and I've asked if they can all, so they all have an evaluation form to fill in. And sometimes because we've been working together for a long time, we just do that over the phone through conversation because they know what I'm looking for and I know what I'm looking for. So we can just do that in conversation. But because there will be this little lag in a way that there wouldn't normally be, I've asked them all to fill out an evaluation so that they're capturing as much of it while it's fresh and all the little nuances that might be forgotten in a few weeks' time. But you need to remember as well, you're hot off the press, Christina, so you started early. There's Adele and Diana not started yet, so say
Yes.
they even just get...
Yes, I have.
Oh, you have? My apologies. It's just because you didn't say. My apologies. So well done. So there's no right, wrong, good or bad here for any of you, but just look, thinking, well, if Adele, say she gets her first one done this week, and I might have done your assessor, Christina, as in Diana, and then Diana, you might have yours coming in, and I might do yours next week, and then Adele's. So even though the 3 weeks, it's still, I'm still in and out over that 3-week period where I would ordinarily be here, and we're still always having to wait until the last assessor call, whoever's that is, and whenever that assessor can make it in my diary, which normally takes between 3 to 5 weeks. That's why we always say allow a 2-week window after the finish date to get everything all pulled together. So all that's going to happen here is that I'm not going to be dipping in and out. I'm just doing everybody like as a solid piece. So the end finish date won't really be impacted. That's how I knew when I got the date, and I said to Louise, that's the last day of like the program in terms of submissions. It's like there is a God. There is a God, because it could not have, yeah. And I the biggest thing for me was that I knew I wasn't going to be here as you moved into your final four. But that's a me issue. That's a me problem. That's a me issue. You're all capable, and we've got our call on Wednesday. You're all capable. You've already started, so you've got it. You've absolutely got it. So I just need to relax, trust that you know that I'm still here energetically, and I've got your back. And get well so that I can blitz through all your calls and yeah, pull it all together for you.
I think what I was afraid of, because many times the case stories or the case studies that I've done, after a few of them, I can't remember what I did, 3 case studies.
But you don't need to remember.
No, but that's why I was thinking, I was afraid that the assessors wouldn't be able to remember either.
No, they're well, it's different. It's different when it's different because you're working with this animal, then this one, then this one, then this one. And the assessors, that's not what they're doing.
No, true.
The assessors are listening to feedback about their animal companion. So they're hearing it on a different level because it matters to them.
Yes.
Because it's about their animal. And I don't mean it doesn't matter to you, but you are, for the best will in the world, you're going through a conveyor belt. You're getting through the animals. You're doing your best work that you can while you're there, but you are, in effect, just going through the motions to get to the finish line. But for the assessor, they're hearing information about their animal companion. And even an assessor, I've done calls with an assessor that's maybe done 3 or 4 students, and we just do them all in the one call. But they've got their notes that remind them, and it's their animal, so they'll remember what was most important there.
Yeah, makes sense. Absolutely.
Okay, so ended up being a bit of a final four, but that's okay. if you've got any more questions, bring them to Wednesday's Final Four check-in. It's just like we check in if there's any last minute loose ends. And then I'll also see you on Wednesday at 6 o'clock for our first coaching club, for those of you that are there. But if you need anything from me in the meantime, please just reach out. Always here.
Before
everyone-
before you disappear, have you checked your messenger?
No,
And do you
not
want
today.
any? Do you want? It was a few days ago. Do you want any homeopathic post-surgical mix for after your op?
I would love that, and I wish I actually had meant to. I'm just aware I've
Reply.
got a call. I had meant to reach out to you about this. I go for craniosacral work, and she
Yeah.
works with a homeopath that does a little hospital kit.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, that's fine. She says, do you want me to organise a hospital kit? And I said, yes. So I don't know what's in it. I'm going to collect that tomorrow. So I'll let you know what's in it.
Yes.
And you know me.
Yeah.
And yeah, absolutely. Because
But
I want to do everything that I
tell
can.
me, yeah, tell me what's in it.
Yeah.
And what potencies are in it.
Perfect.
Because otherwise I will be struggling to get it to
Yeah.
you for Friday. That's what
Yeah.
I was, yeah.
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 Okay, thank you. I really appreciate
Brilliant.
that. God, I feel
Yes.
so taken care of by you lot. You're amazing, all of you.
And I'll send that video to you with the
Oh,
light-
yes.
the
The
activation.
light
and all
talking, I'm
that.
going to look amazing, feel amazing.
Yep,
Yeah.
definitely. I can actually put it into our group as well.
Yeah, put it into the group for everyone.
yeah,
Please
It
do.
might be a little bit weird for someone, but I mean,
No, it is weird, but I had it once
is
before and it was
weird,
amazing. So
but it was quite spectacular. Yep.
okay,
it was-
thank you for that.
Yep.
Right, I will love you and leave you, and I will
Yes.
see you all on Wednesday.
Wednesday.
And
Yep.
if you need anything at all in between times, just reach out. And I'll talk about this more on Wednesday in the Final Four call. But remember, Louise knows this system inside out. She knows all the assessors. There's
Yeah.
nothing that Louise can't take care of for you, should anything in the very unlikely event happen while I'm not here. And there's nothing that's not fixable.
Hmm.
There's
No.
nothing that can't be fixed.
Stop worrying, it'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm doing my
Yeah.
clucky mother hen.
Yes, I know you are.
That's because I care about you all. I
Yeah,
care
I'm
about
trying to
you lot the way you care
micromanage.
about the animals in your work. That's what you are for me.
Are you worried
Okay.
about your op, or are you ready?
Pardon?
Are you ready for your operation, or are
I'm
you
as ready as I can be. Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm ready for a different life. So I'm in a different place than where I was 2 years ago. I'm
Good.
ready. This
Good.
needs to go. It
Yes.
needs to go.
Fantastic.
Okay. I'll see you
Yeah.
all on Wednesday.
All right. See